The joke in the ranks. Lieutenant Kara Myles stepped onto the metal ramp of the Dreadclaw, the flagship of the Galactic Vanguard, with her shoulders squared and her jaw clenched. The air inside the docking bay was heavy with sterilizers, oil, and tension. She was the only human among hundreds of alien soldiers, and every one of them was staring at her like she didn't belong. Because she didn't. Not yet. A towering insectoid with her crimson eyes and armor, like living bone, clicked its mandibles and muttered in its own tongue. Another, a snake-like being coiled around a suspended perch, laughed in a series of sharp, raspy hisses. Is that the new recruit? Where's the rest of it? Did someone order a mascot? Kara ignored them. She'd heard worse during training on Earth, and the only thing more powerful than their ridicule was her reason for being here, to prove humanity could stand among the stars, not behind them. At the far end of the bay stood the infamous Theta 9, an elite strike unit that had survived more war zones than most fleets. She recognized a few of the members from mission files. Brel, the demolitions expert with 3 arms and a nervous twitch. Orlan, a telekinetic who hovered instead of walked. And of course, Vrask. He was hard to miss. Vrask stood nearly 9 feet tall, clad in dark combat chitin and battle-worn plating. His 4-clawed arms rested across his chest like folded knives. He had no eyes, just sensory pits across a skull crowned with jagged bone ridges. This was the apex predator of Skarn Prime, responsible for over 700 confirmed kills and 0 losses. He radiated silent disdain. Kara stopped before them and saluted. Lieutenant Kara Myles, reporting for duty. No one returned the salute. Commander Threx, a grizzled reptilian with bronze scales and cybernetic legs, sneered at her. You're the human they sent? Kara nodded. Yes, sir. He turned to the others. Looks like High Command wants to see if humans can bleed in space. You'll be embedded with Theta 9. Observation only. Understood, she said. Not surprised. They expected her to fail. Threx turned to his squad. Get her geared up. We deploy in 2 hours to Cordith Jungle. Recon only. Minimal risk. A lie. Kara had read the intelligence brief. Cordith was crawling with feral core packs, razor-limbed beasts that hunted in coordinated swarms. Minimal risk didn't exist there. In the armory, no one spoke to her. She checked and rechecked her gear in silence. Vrask stood apart, sharpening one of his massive blades against his forearm, plating, the scraping sound like nails on glass. The shuttle dropped them on Cordith at dusk. The jungle breathed heat and noise. Bioluminescent plants pulsed in the shadows. An unfamiliar bird-like creature screamed in the treetops. Theta 9 moved like shadows, quiet and efficient. Kara trailed behind, scanning constantly. Something was off. The animal sounds were wrong. Too coordinated. Rhythmic. She pinged the squad. Movement pattern northwest, 60 meters. Looks like a Tor flank. Brel scoffed. They don't flank. They swarm. They're adapting, she said. Listen to the cadence. They're corralling us. Commander Threx hissed. You're here to observe, human. Keep your theories to yourself. She shut her mouth, but kept watching. Minutes later, they walked into the trap. Tor erupted from the trees, dozens of them. Claws slashed. Screams cut through the jungle. The squad fell into disarray. Threx was hit, spine pierced. Orlan vanished under a pile of writhing limbs. Kara dove behind a fallen log and pulled up the terrain map. She saw it, a narrow geothermal ridge to the east. The predators wouldn't cross the heat flows. It was their only chance. She activated comms. Fall back east 50 meters. There's a ridge. Heat barrier might give us cover. No one responded, except Vrask. The massive alien turned mid-swing, bisected its core with a single swipe, and charged east, following her orders. The others hesitated, then followed. Kara sprinted behind them, lobbing a thermal charge to slow their pursuers. They made it to the ridge. As predicted, the Tor stopped at the heat flows, screeching but not crossing. Breathing hard, bloodied, and stunned, the squad looked at Kara. Vrask stood beside her, blades lowered, and spoke for the first time. Your eyes saw the path. The weak ones mocked. But I obeyed. The jungle ridge smoldered with heat from the geothermal vents, and the Tkor paced the other side, snarling in frustration. Theta 9 stood panting, wounded and wide-eyed, glancing between Kara and Vrask as if reality itself had taken a sharp turn. Commander Threx groaned, leaning against a rock with a nasty puncture in his midsection. Green blood leaked between his fingers. Never thought I'd say this, but the human saved our hides. Kara crouched beside him, scanning his vitals. You've got a cracked carapace and internal bleeding. We need evac. Threx snarled, eyes narrowing. You're not in command here, Myles. She didn't flinch. You can't move. Your second in command is dead. Someone needs to get us out. Silence followed. No one argued. She turned to Vrask. You knew I was right back there. He nodded once. The prey moved with pattern. You saw it. I followed. Brel muttered. You followed her? You've never taken an order from anyone. Vrask turned his head slightly. She gave no command. She gave logic. An instinct. Kara didn't need their approval, just their cooperation. She stood up and pointed at the map on her wrist display. The Tor are going to circle south and block our extraction. But there's an abandoned comms tower 3 clicks northeast. If we get there fast, I can signal a transport. Too risky, Brel grunted. They'll be waiting. Then we'll make them think we're not going there, Kara said. We'll leave bait. She outlined a plan, her voice calm, confident. They'd leave behind sensor pings and heat signatures from spare armor cores, simulating movement southwest. Meanwhile, they'd ghost northeast using terrain cover and pheromone scramblers. Half the squad looked doubtful. The other half looked terrified. Vrask? He was already moving. The jungle thickened as they advanced, keeping low and silent. Kara marked motion trails, redirecting them through predator nests recently abandoned. No core will follow through here, she whispered. They respect bigger threats. Like what? Brel whispered. Kara just smiled grimly. Does it matter? As they crept toward the tower, the skies darkened. An incoming storm churned above, lightning illuminating the broken silhouette of the old structure. It tilted to one side, overrun by vines and corrosion. But it still had power. Get inside and secure the perimeter, Kara ordered. This time, no one argued. She climbed the tower, bypassing a rusted ladder, and hooked into the backup transmission grid. Sparks flew. Static buzzed in her ear. This is Lieutenant Kara Myles of Theta 9, she broadcast. Emergency evac request. Coordinates transmitting now. The response was crackly but clear. Copy that, Theta 9. 10 minutes. Hold position. Kara climbed back down and found Vrask standing alone on the perimeter, blades drawn, muscles taut. They'll come, he said. They followed false trail. But the hunt always loops back. Kara nodded. We hold them here. The squad set traps. Improvised explosives from mining charges. Razor wire nets strung between trees. Kara coordinated it all, her voice cutting through fear and fatigue like steel. Then the Tkor came. They burst from the jungle like a flood, dozens chittering, climbing, bounding over roots and rocks. The traps worked. Explosions tore into the first wave. The second hit the wire and shredded themselves. But still they came. Hold the line, Kara shouted. Theta 9 fought like demons. Vrask was a blur of death, his blades slicing and slamming, his movement brutal and elegant. Kara directed fire teams, called out flanks, and shifted positions like chess pieces. Then a screech. One of the Tor alphas leaped at her. Too fast. Vrask intercepted it mid-air, slammed it into the ground, and crushed its skull beneath one clawed foot. He looked at Kara, blood splattered across his chest. You command well. She met his eyes, breath ragged. You fight better. A roar of engines broke through the chaos. The evac shuttle screamed and low, side bay doors open. Kara waved the squad in. They fell back in tight formation. The last one in was Vrask, carrying an unconscious squad mate over his shoulder. As the shuttle lifted off, Kara slumped against the bulkhead. The squad looked at her differently now, not with suspicion, but something like respect. Even Threx, still clutching his wound, gave her a faint nod. You've earned more than observation rights, Lieutenant. Vrask sat cross-legged beside her, massive arms folded. They will follow you now. Kara exhaled slowly, her voice quiet. Good, because next time we might not get lucky. They called it a training exercise, but everyone knew what it really was, a test. Kara stood in the war room aboard the Dreadclaw, watching the holographic map spin slowly in the air. 3 elite squads had been tasked with capturing a simulated supply depot on the desolate moon of Ortis Prime. Her squad, Theta 9, was the sole defender. The exercise was supposed to last 6 hours. Command expected her to last 2. This is where they expect you to fail, Commander Threx said from the observation balcony, his wounds still healing. This war game is their way of saying your victory on Cordith was luck. Kara didn't flinch. Then I'll show them what strategy looks like. Below her, the squad stood ready. Though ready might have been generous. Doubt still lingered in the way Brel triple-checked his ammo and the way Orlin floated silently, arms crossed. Only Vrask stood at ease, arms behind his back, waiting. Kara stepped in front of the squad. 3 squads are coming, she said. They're stronger, better equipped, and trained to think like hammer-wielders in a glass house. So we'll give them glass. She tapped the hologram. They'll expect a standard defense. Bunkers, fallback lines, heavy choke points. Instead, we give them an illusion. Then we cut their legs out from under them. Lure and trap. Orlin asked, intrigued. Kara nodded. Yes. And chaos. She deployed the team across the battlefield. She turned the depot's perimeter into a maze. Dead ends, false signals, and sensor ghosts. Mines disguised as cargo crates. Decoys armed with high-frequency sonic bursts to disorient. Even the terrain itself was reshaped. She had drones dig trenches and shallow pits masked by heat-reflective tarps. And at the center of it all, hidden deep underground, a fallback command center carved from an old or shaft. No one would expect the defenders to disappear beneath the battlefield. 2 hours in, the first enemy squad approached fast and loud. Kara watched them through drones, counting every step. They're overconfident, Brel muttered, watching the feed. Good, Kara replied. Time to teach them humility. The first squad breached the depot perimeter and walked straight into the first fall signal. A bait turret fired blanks, harmless but attention-grabbing. When the squad rushed it, they triggered the first net of seismic charges. Boom. Dust. Panic. Reposition west, Kara said into the comms. Stage 2 is active. Theta 9 moved like phantoms, just as she drilled them. As the second and third squads coordinated to box them in, Kara fed them a trail of false heat signatures, leading them straight into crossfire zones rigged with drones armed with blinding flares and electroshock bursts. One enemy squad fell back, confused and scattered. They think we have more than one squad, Orlin said, a hint of admiration in his voice. Kara allowed herself the smallest smirk. Let's make them certain of it. But it wasn't over. The third squad, led by a veteran tactician named Rog, adjusted. They halted, recoiled, rerouted. Smart. Too smart to be bluffed for long. They're flanking us, Brel warned. North Ridge. Exactly where I want them, Kara said. She looked at Vrask. Take your team and bait them into the dead zone. He nodded once. No question, no hesitation. Vrask and 2 others broke cover, letting themselves be seen. The enemy bit the hook, pursuing into a valley Kara had lined with sound-dampening foam and narrow rock formations. Perfect for an ambush. When the enemy reached the narrowest point, Kara gave the order. Now! Vrask pounced, like a storm of blades. He cut through the squad's leader and used the terrain to disorient the rest. Kara's drone struck from above with stun blasts and blackout smoke. 6 minutes later, the third squad was incapacitated. By the time command called the exercise over, all 3 enemy squads had been neutralized. Theta 9 stood without a single simulated casualty. The war room fell silent. Threx watched from above, lips curled into something between a grin and a grimace. You made fools of them. Kara stepped back from the console. No, I just gave them what they expected. and made sure it killed them. Down in the debriefing room, Theta 9 stared at her differently. Not with skepticism, with belief. Brel grunted. You're not like other commanders. Orlan added, you make war personal. Vrask spoke last, quiet and firm. You lead like a predator, patient, precise, and final. I follow that. Kara didn't smile. She didn't need to, because she had just done what no other human had. Won respect, not through strength, but through command. And soon, she'd need every ounce of it. The transmission came through in the middle of a briefing. Kara froze mid-sentence as the encrypted alert blinked across her datapad. Priority Omega. Containment failure. Sector Valagrix. Her stomach sank. Vrask, she said, already moving. How far is Valagrix from our current position? Vrask's eyes glowed faintly as he accessed the star charts through his neural uplink. 2 jumps. Less if we bypass comm lanes. Why? She turned the pad so the rest of Theta 9 could see. The message detailed an escape. Not a skirmish, not a raid, an outbreak. The Varel. The name hung in the air like radiation. Living weapons, engineered long ago by a defunct war cult. They had no true shape, just flowing biomass and needle-sharp instincts. The last time they surfaced, it took a coalition fleet and orbital bombardments to seal them again. High Command is authorizing a blockade, Kara said, her voice tight. But the window's narrow. If the Varel get past Valagrix, they'll reach core systems. Commander Threx's voice came through the ship-wide comms. Theta 9, gear up. You've got 10 minutes. And Myles, Command wants you leading the vanguard. This one's yours. She didn't hesitate. The Dreadclaw emerged from warp into chaos. The Valagrix station hung in orbit, venting atmosphere. Civilian transports scattered in retreat, while autonomous sentry turrets lit up with emergency fire. Below, on the planet's shadowed side, dense jungle trembled under movement. Too much movement. Theta 9 deployed at once. Kara led from the front, landing near the outer research complex, what was left of it. Slick tendrils of bio-growth had spread across the walls, pulsing faintly. The Varel had already begun their expansion. They moved fast. Inside, the team moved through shattered labs and melted corridors. Half-eaten bodies and twitching remains were left in mockery of anatomy. Brel flinched as something squelched beneath his boot. Kara checked her scanner. Life form concentrations thickest near the central chamber. They're nesting. Vrask crouched beside her. We burn the nest. We break the cycle. Not yet, she said. We need to find patient 0. The Varel need a host to catalyze. Cut that link, and they destabilize. As they advanced, Kara coordinated subteams, sealed breach points, and rerouted power to sterilization emitters. Every step forward came with resistance. Lashing limbs, spiked growths, psychic shrieks that tested their sanity. The closer they got to the heart of the complex, the stranger it became. The walls pulsed like veins. Lights flickered. Time seemed to stretch. Then they reached it. Patient 0, a figure, barely human now, stood cocooned in tendrils, suspended mid-air. Her face was locked in an expression of tranquil madness. Her body emitted a low-frequency hum, spreading control across the biomass like a hive signal. Vrask stepped forward, blade raised. No, Kara said. Killing her now triggers a failsafe. The Varel learned from last time. We need to sever the connection first. Shut down the amplifier she's wired into. She pointed to a node across the chamber. Orlan moved to it, fingers glowing as he interfaced telepathically. 3 encryption layers. Give me 30 seconds. 20, Kara replied, raising her rifle. Varel swarmed from the vents and walls, screeching like glass shards in wind. Kara moved like fire, short bursts, clean shots, backing into cover while issuing commands. Brel, cover left flank. Vrask, you're on intercept. Vrask became a storm. He tore through the oncoming tide with feral precision. Limbs fell. Screeches turned to silence. He fought not like a soldier, but like a force of nature. Done, Orlan shouted. Signal severed. Kara didn't wait. She fired a plasma bolt straight into patient 0's chest. The body spasmed, and the entire nest screamed, a keening wail of collapse. The biomass shuddered, then began to disintegrate. The team ran. Outside, the sky lit up as orbital fire cleansed the valley. The Varel were burned away in sterilizing flame. Back aboard the Dreadclaw, silence filled the decontamination bay. Kara sat on a bench, arms resting on her knees, watching the white walls pulse with sterilization light. Vrask stood beside her, not towering, not threatening, just present. You knew the shape of their mind, he said. You did not fear the unknown. You studied it, then bent it. Kara looked up. You once said predators follow instinct. But instinct isn't enough. Not out here. Vrask nodded. Which is why we follow you. The decontam lights flickered green, cleared. As Kara stepped out of the chamber, she saw the other squads waiting. Watching. Quiet. They didn't laugh. Not anymore.